So my name is Samara, and I'm a master's student at the University of Alberta, and I'm in the Faculty of Rehab Sciences. And so I'm looking at auction therapy, and so my project has kind of sprouted from a larger project, which was looking at the barriers and facilitators to auction therapy for people with interstitial lung disease. And from that, we kind of found that education regarding auction therapy was a pretty big barrier. Lots of people kind of described it as lots of people described the education they were receiving was being more targeted towards COPD. And so I've kind of been exploring that. I just kind of wrapped up all my focus groups with healthcare professionals, and now I'm looking for people who have used auction therapy or currently use auction therapy to kind of share their experiences with me and how they have been using auction and kind of the barriers that they've also run into in regards to the education. So if that kind of sounds like something you're interested in, it would just be a 1 hour group. And so I'd be scheduling them probably within the next month or two. And if you are interested, you could just go ahead and let Ursula know, and she would share your contact information with me. Are
Thank you
there
very
any
much.
questions about that?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Well, I know you have a rest, quite a bit planned for the rest, so I will head out. But thank you for taking the time to listen to my little spiel about my research, and have a good evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Samira. Have a good night. Okay, thanks everyone again for your patience. I just checked with our IT, and apparently Zoom, the platform, is malfunctioning. So that explains the issues that we had. It will not allow me to link to Facebook. That being said, I know it's late. The session that we're going to start is on voice, breathing, and lung capacity. So I'm going to let Dr. Laurier introduce himself and get started. If we run out of time, I will talk to Dr. Laurier about possibly having a second session, just so we can make sure you guys get all the information you need. And whenever you're ready, Dr. Laurier, take it away. And I'll just have you share your screen. I'm going to make you a host, okay?
Yeah, actually, I probably won't be sharing my screen tonight, Jamie, so
Oh,
that
okay.
that ends up being fine. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Laurier Fagnan, and I am primarily a voice teacher, a choral conductor. I have a vocal acoustics lab at the U of A, and also have studied vocology, which is the science of the voice and the habilitation of the voice, not the rehabilitation, but the habilitation, as in how to use it properly so that you'll never need rehabilitation. And on that, with that work, I work a ton on breathing, on inhalation and breath control. Because as you know, in singing, probably more than in speaking, you need great breath control and good techniques of inhalation in order to be able to do what opera singers do and be able to carry your voice over an orchestra. So there are a lot of breathing techniques that I've been studying for the past 30 or so years that have led to what I'll be some of the practical things that I'll be talking to you about tonight. If I stumble a little bit, forgive me. I just got off a plane after being doing a bunch of research and presentations in France, where I was for 2 months. I'm on sabbatical this year from my university post. So I just got in the middle of the night this morning, and so it is 3:30 in the morning in France right now. So as we say in French, I may have both eyes in the same hole for part of this this evening. But tonight I'm going to try and make this very practical, give you some exercises. I've done a couple of videos already for the Alberta Lung Association. Has anyone, just so that I know, has anyone seen those videos that I've done? And don't feel bad about saying no. Just shake your head
No.
if no, and no. Okay, so this is all new to you. Okay, well that's good in a way. So I'll try and do things very quickly. Jamie, just so that I know, I still have just till 8 o'clock, right? So we're looking at half an hour.
Yep, half an hour.
Okay, so this will be very quick. Um, the um, the alternative to breathing is not good. We all like to breathe, right?
Mm.
And I know that for some of you that is probably more of a challenge than it used to be, and I'm sorry for that. And I hope some of the things that I am able to offer you tonight may provide some comfort and some increased control of how long you're able to speak, how much breath you're able to take in. I am not I'm not a medical doctor, so if I say things that don't make sense to some of you who are on oxygen, forgive me and let me know.
Mm.
But I will go through things as best I can. Um, so sometimes we work, or often we work a little too hard at our breathing. And I know that for singers especially, we think that we have to take in the whole room if we're going to come out with this big sound. And sometimes we gasp our breath in, and we do a lot of very high chest breathing and filling ourselves up as much as we can, which is not good because it puts our breath in a very high position, which then Newton's third law, each and every action demands an equal and opposite reaction. The breath has to come out right away. So as soon as we start to speak, then we're doing all of this chest pumping and heaving and breathy speaking. So tonight I'll try and give you a few pointers that might help with that. Uh, Part of the thing that we have to do when we inhale, if we're going to be able to control our breath and speak longer sentences, or if some of you are singers, sing longer phrases, is take the breath in the right place. And that happens to be very low. I'm going to, I don't know if you can maybe put me on speaker view. If you go on Zoom, if you go in the right-hand corner under view, rather than gallery view, which is where you see everyone on the screen. If you can put it on speaker view, then you'll see more of me. And I'm just saying that I don't want you to, it's not all about me, but if I stand up, then I'll still be in your screen. All right. Um, so I'm just going to switch between standing and sitting here. If I'm standing up, and if I take what I think or what people generally think is a huge breath, the stomach actually goes in, the chest comes up, and the throat gets filled, and the upper chest, and that creates a lot of pressure very close to your voice. And it's hard to make sound because your vocal folds, which are a small valve in your larynx, they're also called vocal lips. They look very much like lips, but they're in here in your larynx and open up like that. And they're about the size of a quarter in men, or the size of a dime in high-voiced women. They're very small and can vibrate up to 1,000 times per second, which is absolutely amazing. But they're very delicate. So if you put too much breath pressure up there, they just blow open and all of your breath comes out, and you have to take another breath very soon, and the cycle repeats itself. So the trick is to try and get the breath into the bottom of the lungs as opposed to in the top of the lungs and scrunching up the bottom. So there are a few ways in which you can do that. First of all, the diaphragm, which is a dome-shaped muscle that separates your organs, your visceral organs from your lungs. The diaphragm goes all the way front and back. It's like a parachute in here. And it's attached to the bottom of the lungs. And the bottom of the lungs, when the diaphragm descends, it takes the bottom of the lungs with it because it's attached to it. And the bottom of the lungs there open up and create a whole bunch of new space in the bottom of your lungs if the diaphragm is allowed to descend. And that creates a vacuum in the lungs. And nature, I don't know if you remember this from school, but nature abhors a vacuum, and breath simply appears in the bottom of your lungs because there's an equalization of pressure that happens effortlessly. We don't have to go get it and suck in the room. We just have to allow the diaphragm to descend. Oh, and all of a sudden there's this feeling of, oh, there's space down there, and the breath just drops in. Now, how do you let the diaphragm descend? It's not a push. It's not if I stick my stomach out, my diaphragm is going to be in the right position. It's not a muscular thing. It's almost as though if I were standing on a trap door, for some reason, I don't stand on a lot of trap doors, but play with my image here. If I were standing on a trap door and the trap door were suddenly to release and open, what would happen to me? I would be gone. I would disappear into the abyss that's below me. That's kind of what happens to the diaphragm. It's not a pushing down. If we go with the trapdoor, I wouldn't rub slowly against the sides and have to push myself down. I'd be gone. So the diaphragm is kind of like a trap door that just, it releases down. It takes the bottom of the lungs with it. You won't feel the bottom of your lungs, by the way. There's just this general feeling of release. And if you feel a releasing here and here and here simultaneously, your mouth, your throat, and your diaphragm, or the bottom of your lungs, all open up at the same time. It's one system of openness, and the breath just kind of appears. It's almost like you have a pipeline feeding you here rather than sucking in the room. It just goes through this open conduit. There's no obstacle, and the breath just appears down here. Now, you may not feel that in the next 5 minutes, but if you practice it, I promise you it will get better. Now, you can work on this a couple of ways or a few ways. I like to think or use the image of three sets, sorry, not three, three, that's my jet lag. 3 sets of lips, one being here, the vocal folds, vocal cords are also called vocal lips, which is probably the best way to refer to them because they're the most like lips. And then you have a set of lips that you didn't know about that is right here. Here and here, front lip and back lip. And those 3 sets of lips all have to yawn at the same time. And so one way of thinking about doing that or doing that properly is, I don't know how many of you are comfortable standing. You can do this from a seated position, but to just kind of bend forward. I've got one foot in front of the other. And bending forward, you can do this from a seating position as well. And try and feel, if I can get my camera lined up here, the back of your ribs. Sorry, I've got my thumb on the back of my ribs. Very important to have 360-degree expansion. Again, so you're not just, but if your lungs are going to expand properly, the bottom of your lungs need to expand in all dimensions. And that will allow the bottom of your lungs to invite that breath nice and low through a yawned mouth, a yawned throat, and a yawned rib cage. So it's like one system of openness that invites the breath to effortlessly drop into the bottom of the lungs. Now, I'm a firm believer in knowing the enemy if we're going to avoid it. So let's take a wrong breath and let's forget about everything I just said and not expand down here. And we're going to take a chest heaving high breath and just see what that feels like. And this one can be noisy because you're sucking it in with your closed vocal cords almost. Feels horrible, right? You're full, you're dried out here, and it's just you're going to have a hoarse sound because you're rubbing breath against your vocal cords and drying them out. So instead of that, the yawn here, when you yawn here, your vocal cords open up completely and are no longer an obstacle to the breath. Very, very important to let breath drop in. And then these lips yawn open, and you've got 3 times more breath in your lungs because you've opened up this new cavity in the bottom of your lungs, or this new space. So even though, now some of you, I'll say, may not feel that you're as full after this kind of breath. If you're used to having lots of breath up here, your mind plays tricks on you and says, hey, that's not a big breath. Trust me, it is a big breath, but you might feel not as pressurized and full here, but you will have more breath here. Now you can do this from a sitting position as well. You can go into the what I call the confessional stance and give and tell all of your sins and but and try and feel again this feeling of release down here. It's still the idea of the 3 lips yawning here, here, and here. One system of openness. And now, if this makes you yawn, Vida, I saw that you were yawning. That means that you're doing it right. Bravo.
Yeah. We also call this in our world the tripod position, right? Because
Okay.
you're making a little bit of a triangle to
Yeah,
get that openness
sure.
happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to resist. It's hard to scrunch up the abdomen, which is another one of the enemies, when you're in this position. So that's another good position. Or if your knees are okay, even going into a squatting position is good. And it's all about release of the abdomen. It's not pushing the abdomen out, but releasing the abdomen, allowing the ribs to open up. So you've got diaphragmatic costal breathing as opposed to high chest pulmonary breathing. So the breath, the inhalation is here. Tio, I see you that you've had your hand up for a while. I just wanted to finish my sequence on that. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is that membrane in between what you're talking about. I have what's called a hiatus hernia. How's that affected?
That, yeah.
How does that affect what you're trying to teach or to train me to be
Yeah,
able to do if I have a hiatus hernia?
that is a good question.
I have the
As,
same
as-
thing.
sorry,
I
someone
have
else.
the same thing.
The hiatus,
Colleen.
right. I, as I said at the beginning, my disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor. So I don't want to give any opinions on something that I know very little about. I imagine that is what I'm asking you to do painful? No, you're not sure? Have you tried? Colleen, is it painful to breathe in that way?
Sorry, I just unmuted here.
Yeah.
No, it's not painful.
Yeah. I don't think it would, and again, I'm saying this from a partly ignorant point of view because I haven't had a lot of experience with hiatus hernias. I don't think it would be problematic because what I'm asking you to do is very passive. I'm not asking you to engage muscles. I'm asking you to do exactly the opposite. It's a release. Excuse me. I think I caught something on the plane last night. So it's this releasing openness, this totally surrendering of muscular tension into openness and I'm not crazy about the term relaxation because relaxation um, doesn't include a lot of energy. So this is kind of a buoyant openness that I'm asking you. So I'm
Active
asking you
release,
to try it. Pardon me?
like an active release.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, an active release. And now I'd like to move on to what happens after you take the breath in. Um, because all of that is for naught if after you've inhaled, you just collapse and spew out all the breath that you've just taken in. Um, so there is a constant struggle in our body going on between we inhale oxygen, which is great, and the body wants to immediately exhale the carbon dioxide and get us into the inhalation and then the exhalation. So we're like a bellows, in and out and in and out. But if we're going to, if some of you are singers, sing along phrase, and I hope that you're all singers at one point in your life or one time of day or at least in the shower. But if you are going to speak for a couple of sentences without taking a breath, exactly the same principle, we have to, for as long as possible, again, without forcing, it's a dynamic opening, stay in that inhaled position. Because as soon as we're finished inhaling, the exhalatory muscles want to take over the abdomen, the intercostals, and want to shove that air out. And our vocal cords, vocal folds, vocal lips, whatever you want to call them, don't actually need that much breath to make sound. They, if you shove too much breath through them, this is the kind of sound that you get, and you have to take lots and lots of breaths to get to what you want to say. Whereas if I'm speaking like this, then I really don't have to breathe very often. My sound goes much, much further, and I'm a happy camper. So there's a constant relationship between good inhalation, good breath control, and good voice production. Now, in 30 minutes, and we have 14 left, I don't know if I'm going to get to everything tonight. But so the inhalation is all about releasing, opening, creating that empty space in the bottom of the lungs through the release downward of the diaphragm and the opening of the ribs, which invites the breath like a trap door to just whoosh appear in there. And now the nice part is the breath which is up here is not controllable, but breath which is down here is, because you've got the the intercostals, which want to keep the rib cage open. You've got the abdomen, which would really like to force that out, but you do have some control over them in terms of staying open. So the Italians used to say, dobbiamo sempre inhalare la voce. Do any of you understand Italian? No. Sorry, I teach bel canto method of singing, so we use a lot of Italian terms. Dobbiamo sempre inhalare la voce means we must always stay in the inhalatory position, in the inhaled, the end of the inhalation position, if we're going to sing well, as opposed to ah, ah. These are this is my rib cage here. Ah, ah. If you stay in that inhaled position, you can either sing with resonance and vibration or speak with resonance and vibration and use a quarter of the breath that you do when you speak with that breathy tone and you're collapsing all of that. So let's just take a few minutes to work on resisting the urge of these muscles to collapse as soon as you've inhaled. So again, let's go to the enemy. Let's do it the wrong way. Let's take in that good inhalation that we did with the 3 yawns at these lips, and these lips, but then let's collapse right away. All right, so feel your chest empty. Feel your abdomen collapse. So we had half of the cycle right, but the second half wrong. Everyone understand where I'm going with this? So now that's the friend and the enemy. So let's do friend and friend. And let's see if we can take in that nice low inhalation through the yawning position. And then just trick your body into thinking you're still inhaling. Just don't take any more breath in. Just stay in that open position. Kalinda, nice yawn. You did it right. Good. Seeing lots of people suspend that open. So the idea is not to clamp down here or to stay or but to just stay in that nice inhaled position, like you're still breathing, but you're not. All right, let's see if we can do it on a count of 8. We're going to, part of what we're doing is training our exhaling muscles to chill out and to wait their turn. All right, so we're going to inhale on the count of 8. So this is going to be a slow inhalation, and it won't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It won't be finishing up here. Let's see if we can keep it all down here. And then we're going to stay open for 8. Like we're still breathing. We're not going to clamp closed here or here. And then you can let it out. All right? To see if we can get these breath control muscles happening. All right? So empty yourself first. And then if you're, even if you're sitting, try and be in a noble, open position. And a couple of ways that we can do, we didn't talk a lot about posture yet, but posture is very important because your lungs are either in here or they're in here. Makes a huge difference for volume and lung capacity. So let's see if we can lift up the sternum. If you're standing, or even if you're sitting, a good way to open up your chest cave and your thoracic cavity is to take your thumbs and to roll them. You can't quite see my whole image. Maybe you can if I'm on speaker mode. If you're on speaker mode, roll them back. That opens up your chest and your thoracic cavity. And then just relax your arms, including your shoulders, but not your chest. So we're not doing this, but we're doing that. And then you've got lots more space in here. And try and always think of your thoracic cavity as being 3-dimensional. So it's not just high, but it's open. All right, and that gets your proper intercostal muscles. Intercostal meaning between the ribs, between costal ribs. So if your ribs are scrunched together because you're collapsed, your intercostal muscles can't help you inhale or exhale properly, or inhale and control the breath. All right, so with that in mind, let's have a nice high posture, but don't take a high breath because of that. All right, putting your hands nice and low, or you can do this in the with the elbows on the knees, that position, but trying to still think openness. All right, so on the count of 8, yawning here, here, and here, nice and slowly, because we don't want to fill up on 2. We're going to be full at the end of 8, and then staying open. All right, here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Staying open now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And let it out. Good. That is a good exercise to train these muscles to open up and to stay open. And tonight we won't be able to get into the voice production part, which is a huge part of the problem, because you can breathe, you can inhale properly and try and stay open in your body, but if your voice comes out like this, then your body is going to collapse anyway. It's 50% inhalation and breath control and 50% voice production. So your vocal cords, your vocal folds, vocal lips need to think about the right kind of sound. And that is neither this, where they're pinching the breath and suffocating the sound, nor this, which is the opposite, where the valve of your vocal folds, and the vocal folds are like a valve, is completely open and just letting the breath through. There's a really happy medium called vibration and resonance, where your voice has lots of good acoustic vocal energy, which resists against breath flow and turns every molecule of breath into the sound. We won't be able to get into that too much tonight, but just so that you know, well, I'm breathing like he told me to. I'm trying to stay open, but I'm running out of breath after every third word. That might be part of the problem. So trying to breathe low and to stay open low, hugely important. A couple of handy exercises that can help with the next part, without putting the voice into it, is to take that nice open breath that we were talking about, and then to take a sheet of paper and try and see, you have to lick your lips before doing this, if with a very thin, pressurized stream of breath, not a not that, but if you take your hand, breathe on it like this, like I just did with your mouth quite open, you'll feel it's warm. It shouldn't feel warm in the way that we're going to do it next. So a very thin veil, like you're whistling. Can you feel that that's much cooler? That's what we need to feel. And the idea is that your reservoir here is staying 90% full while you're letting out a thin stream, a thin pressurized stream of breath. So something like this. Where the paper is staying equidistant from your breath. Don't blow into the middle of the page, by the way. Blow at the bottom of the page. Middle won't work. Yeah, Colleen, you need to be higher. Your mouth needs to be even with the bottom of the page, not up here. Still too high, Colleen. Bring the sheet up some more. There, and Anne as well, if you can bring the sheet up. Audrey, that's perfect. Look at the way Audrey's doing it and the way Margaret's doing it. It should be at about that level. If you're right here, well, it'll work, but not as well. Around the bottom of the page. Now, what you don't want to do is have the sheet flutter a lot. So you don't want to go on short bursts. You want it to be a constant, and not with your mouth too open. And the sheet should be moving quite a bit. So again, if you do it against your hand, it's cool and you can feel a stream of breath. Now, try and tie that to the fact that most of your bottom of your rib cage is staying quite open, so that it's not, but it's, and that's putting the act of emitting breath with keeping most of it in your body together. And then the next step is speaking while doing that as well. And we'll have to get to that, I think, in another session on voice production and what you do with your voice in order to keep your vocal folds, to turn all of that breath efficiently into vocal sound that won't take much breath. A great exercise to do is just to say the alphabet back and forth a whole bunch of times without taking a breath. If you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, I'm already empty because I haven't used any vocal energy in vibration and resonance. But if I go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, I can carry on for quite a while because I'm using my voice and the breath, all that breath that I've taken efficiently. But I can't bring you all there tonight. I'd love to give you all individual breathing and voice lessons. But based on what I've said tonight, does anything that I've said contradict what those of you who are on oxygen feel? First of all, those of you who are on oxygen, do you need to breathe through your nose? I know that's going to sound like a stupid question coming from a doctor, but who's not a medical doctor. I imagine you have to breathe through your nose. So if you're going to do that, which is fine, try and breathe through your nose with your mouth not open, but with your teeth open, so that you still have that feeling of inner yawn. Because one of the enemies to good lower breathing is a clenched jaw. If your jaw is clenched, you tend to, I'm just saying this from years of experience and working with almost 1,000 choirs over my period of time. When people have their jaws clenched, their shoulders go up, and they're just breathing from here. So just try that, those of you on with oxygen right now.
Yeah, we have to, I don't get enough oxygen unless I have my oxygen. I wear oxygen, so I
Right.
can't.
Okay. So try and see if you can still breathe with your teeth open but your lips closed. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Yes.
And try and have that feeling of openness, because if you're not open here, chances are you're not going to release here. It's a three-tiered system, there, and there, that
I think it's doable, but it takes practice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
Have fun practicing.
Thank you.
Know that the goal is a worthy goal and that it will be win-win, but it will take some practice for sure. But I wish you well in your practice. Does anyone else have? We don't have any time left. I don't know if we
If
have.
anybody has questions, we'll take the time for questions for sure.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? We could probably we can stay on for a few minutes. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and let us know.
Or just a comment as well, how
Yeah.
that felt. Did it make any sense either here?
Mhm.
It might take a little while to make sense of it here, but if it made sense cerebrally, or if you felt something new with that low breath, just feel free to comment as well.
I felt it really tied in well with the kind of the breathing techniques we teach people when they're struggling a little bit with the tripoding and pursed lip breathing, because that plays right into being able to exhale for a little longer and get that breath under control, no matter what disease process you have, right? So it actually just kind of solidified some things that I actually teach. I'm
Great.
not sure how to do that opening up now as well, right? Everybody needs
Great.
something that doesn't, hopefully it resonates with the people that the pursed lip breathing or diaphragmatic breathing doesn't resonate with, but we can get that openness, like you said, at the
I
bottom of
think
the lung.
for me, I've just started. I just had one session with therapists, but I like this because I realized what I was doing was doing the proper inhaling, and then immediately bang, and I was blowing it out hard, my air.
Right.
And this is different, so we'll be practicing.
Great. It sounds like you had half of the formula right. Now it's just getting that second half of Yeah, we think that when we need power, we've got to blow breath out. There's a love-hate relationship between breath and voice. We need it, but we don't need too much of it. We only need as much as you need to make good sound and good voice. And any more than that just floods your engine, and it's not a good way to approach it. Anyone else?
I just have a comment.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to the next session you're going to do.
All right. Well, great.
Mhm.
I will, and then I'll get to speak and sing for you. And I still have a couple of more breathing things that I would do. But yeah, then we get into some real voice things that fill that other half of the formula and give you the full picture.
Okay,
Thank you, Tony.
perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Larry. Thank you everyone for your patience. If you do have any feedback or questions still, either put them into the Facebook group or you can email Ursula or myself. Ursula has shared her email and I'll put my email in there as well. It is 8:06, so I am going to end the meeting here. Everyone have a good night. Thank you, Ursula. Because I'm recording, anytime I do anything, it's a bit delayed, but Ursula is on top of that. So our email is in the chat, as well as you can always contact us through the support group page, as well as stay tuned for more information. I will work with Dr. Laurier to create a part 2 for this session so we can get you guys all that information.
All right,
Sounds
great.
good.
Thank you, Jamie, for the invitation, and Ursula for your help. And good luck to all of you as you spend your 10,000 hours practicing this. And I'll only ask for 1,000, not 10,000. And good luck in your efforts to breathe and to sing. And I hope this will be helpful in your future. Thank you.
Sure
Awesome.
will.
Thank you so much.
All right,
And
take care,
anybody who
everybody.
wants to be a part of Samira's group, right? You have to have used oxygen in your journey with interstitial lung disease or pulmonary fibrosis, or are on oxygen currently. You can either private message me through the Facebook group, or I have put my email and Jamie's email there, and I will get those emails out to Samira so that she can Zoom a meeting, focus group meeting with you guys.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right,
have a
everybody,
good night,
great
everyone.
night.
Night.
Mm.
Good night.